right, a Trojan horse or a Trojan horse's ass? Hi, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. Well, they missed it, so they taxed it a lot. Lawmakers in the House cracking down on those AIG bonuses they should have seen coming by taxing them at rates few of us thought we would ever be revisiting. 90%, let me repeat, 90%, not Charles Payne's tax rate, although it's getting there. AIG, the source of this rage, but do not assume they will be the only focus of this rage, not by a long shot. Are any of us safe now? Here this week, Charles Payne and Dagan McDowell, Adam Lashinsky, Gary Kalpon. Gary, I think it's just the opening salvo. What say you?
Neil, did you see how easy it was for them just to come out and say we're taxing this 90%? It came off the tongue so easily. In the last few weeks, we're now hearing about taxing health care benefits. That goes at the lower and middle income earners. We heard about taxing stock trades, even though China is lowering the taxes on stock trades. We're hearing about taxes on mileage. And just remember, this is a government that spent the money first. The only way they get government is from us. It is coming, and I believe it is coming in a big way, and I believe the markets know it very, very well.
You know what's amazing to me, Charles, how quickly they moved on raising taxes if they could move just as quickly on doing something substantive. This was cleaning up a mess that you should have seen coming that you didn't, so you're covering your fanny to clean up after the fact.
They were so phony with that. It's just amazing. I think America really sees through that. All they're doing now is putting their finger in the air and trying to figure out which way the winds are blowing. But, you know, to the greater point, I'm really worried about this, Neil. Really, listen, the centerpiece of the president's agenda is the redistribution of money, but it's retribution, really, that they're looking for. In other words, America has done so many things wrong to its impoverished people. It's done so many things wrong to its foreigners, to the foreign friends or foes, whatever. So what we're seeing here is just the tip of the iceberg. AIG, listen, obviously they made themselves an easy target, but I think ultimately we're going to see some sort of effort to instill salary caps across the board, no matter what industry, in good times and in bad times.
Can't we just go back where they just are blowhards and just talk a lot and actually not do anything?
Well,
they
do nothing than this. This is actually destructive. And here's the kicker, Dagan. This applies really essentially only to the AIG guys for now. The Freddie and Fannie guys who also collected bonuses that they also expressed shock and amazement at, it doesn't apply to them. So they have to have a separate kind of a bonus deal for them.
Hey, Neil,
but it could possibly apply, though, to anybody who gets a bonus at any of these larger financial institutions
Very good point.
At the beginning of this year. And again, these are people. If you're a salesperson and you went out and actually earned that money and were a great salesperson last year, now you get taxed. Now they take that away. This is the most hideous move, heavy-handed, arbitrary move by our Congress.
Right,
and it's also Republican, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's also
By the way,
Republican.
Republicans are seizing on, we have an easier tax. We're going to make it less onerous, 70%. So, oh, thank you very much. But Adam Lashinsky, here's what I'm saying about this. It is, besides the stupidity and the arrogance of using it as your excuse to ram your wishes here, I'm worried about the wide definition that Dagan touched on. This is for companies that are taking TARP money, taxpayer money, but it also extends to those companies that might deal with companies that take taxpayer money. So by that definition, this could extend and widen rapidly.
Well, it's already a little wider than you said, Neil. I mean, the House bill applies to all institutions that took more than $5 billion of TARP money who paid to people to whom they paid bonuses over $250,000. So, look, there's two parts to this. I think this sort of populism is indeed stupid. It's reactionary. It's rear-end covering, which I think is something we can say on television. And I don't like it. As far as, you know, Gary's point that he believes that this means that we're going to have, you know, taxes of up to 90% on all people's income or on all rich people's income.
I didn't say that.
You know, Gary, I also believe somebody's going to bring breakfast to me tomorrow morning in bed.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say that,
I'll
Adam.
tell you why, Gary. I'll tell you why I said that, Adam. And a lot of people think I'm overstating it. We, in the early years of JFK, had a 90% top rate. And we thought we had gotten it down to a deal when it was 72% under Jimmy Carter before it came crashing down. I talked to a prominent Democrat. I've bored you guys with this story before. I want to remind folks at home who was saying, Neil, you remember that the top rate used to be 90%. This politician saying, and I quote, we would have a long way to go, as if they were tempting that fate. Now, Gary, that's what worries me. Does it worry you?
Completely, and I have at my desk the tax rates going back in the 70s. There was 26 or 27 tax rates, and when I saw the highest rate, I was like, how did this country even exist in a business way? And we know how bad the 70 was. You know, my big problem also is what I call selective disgust. These politicians are selecting who to go after based on who they like or dislike. Somebody said it best a minute ago. Where's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? What's going on with their bonuses? How is Franklin Raines, who oversaw the massive fraud at Fannie Mae, get all this money and not have to give that back? It's about who you know, what you know, and there's no level playing field out there.
Gary, you're touching on what is... Wait a minute. You're touching on what is the most unnerving thing about it. This is not broad tax policy, Neil. This is selective targeting of certain people who got money. It sounds like Russia. It's like, oh, you made too much money, we take money back.
That's my point. Take aside AIG here, and this is where I'll part company with my friend Charles here. I think a lot of these guys at AIG, you know, if you're taking bonus money and a lot of you have run the company into the ground, that's not good, and you shouldn't get the bonus money. My point is, though, when Congress selectively then, Charles, decides who it doesn't like at a given moment, AIG gave them plenty of ammunition. My worry is who you're not going to like next month, next year. Who's going to be your target du jour after that?
Point.
Who are you going to deflect with later on?
My point is the same thing, though. In other words, listen, no one's defending AIG, but there's a lot of things at work here. First of all, you know, the fact that we sent $100 billion overseas that we didn't have to through AIG, and that the fact of the matter is Congress is actually pimping AIG to get through as a conduit to send money.
So it doesn't look like it's coming directly from the government.
If we had to give Goldman Sachs $13 billion a couple of months ago, they would have had to go to Congress. There would have been an uproar. What would have been called? There would have been more. How about we just send money to whoever we want to send money to through AIG, make it the ultimate fall guy, because obviously it is. But the greater picture, the thing that people watching this show should be worried about is $250,000. That's the litmus test. By the way, it wasn't the people, if you work at AIG, if you make $250,000, if your family income is $250,000. So if I worked at AIG and I got a bonus of $20,000 and my wife made $180,000 a year or whatever, if it added up to $250,000, I got to give the money.
Is that so, really?
Yeah.
But you make the point by selectively targeting one industry or one group of people today, you make it impossible to do business in this country. Who would want to?
Neil, all I want...
Go ahead, Adam.
But look, we're conflating two important topics. I completely agree with what you all are saying.
What are we doing?
Sorry. Okay, I'll say it again. We're putting together two topics that deserve to be separate, Neil. One of them is this selective taxation. I agree 110% with what everybody is saying. But Neil, you raised a more important topic than that, which is, does President Obama want to take us into the 60, 70, 80, 90% income tax range? He's never said anything like that. There's no discussion at a responsible level, other than this congressman who you've raised, who want to go back there. We don't want to go back there.
You don't state it out front. And Adam, I'm saying the president was really one of the few adults this week on Jay Leno of all places, kind of slapping Congress around for sort of dealing and closing the barn door after all the animals have left by these punitive tax measures. So the president actually had an adult take on this. Don't overreact and reinvent after the fact. Try to stop this sort of stuff before the fact. But having said that, I don't think I'm making a big sort of a paranoid stretch here to say that this is a potential opening salvo to vilify the rich, equate all of them with greedy AIG swines, and then say, well, you know, they should pay more because they're intrinsically evil.
I'd grant you that it's not a paranoid thought, but my opinion is that's not where we're going, and that isn't something that we should be more concerned about this irresponsible punitive behavior than we should be about some national desire to go to an 80% or 90% tax level.
Again, Adam, it's a cookbook, Twilight Zone episode. I urge you to read it. I could conflate all I want to about it. I could conflate all I want to about it. That's all I'm going to do.
You can't.